Hello viewers, welcome to Full Spinnaker Ahead. This is episode 31, part 1. Spent the dry season in Airlie Beach and now ready to head south again to escape the oncoming cyclone season and head to Brisbane, a major centre, to find a solution for my port transmission drive plate failure. It's an old system and no one so far can help. So stay tuned for the ultimate diagnosis and a repair solution, as well as some awesome locations and sailing scenarios along the way. And please subscribe and leave a comment, that would really make my day. We've just left Airlie Beach on our way south for the southern summer. There's been a bit going on. We had my dad up for a week, and while we do it, went out to the reef for the first time, and then a transmission sheared the input shaft. That's my diagnosis. So I haven't got a left engine, and it's difficult to get help with that because of parts, and everyone seems to be busy. So I'm just going to try and clarify a bit what my options were in Airlie Beach as far as someone getting to help me with the transmission. At this point I only had a diagnosis of what I thought was wrong, so I really had to pull out the transmission, but I wanted to avoid that because you have to relieve the pressure on the prop shaft seal, and potentially that's going to let water in if you muck it up. So I would probably want to be in shallow water or not, or on a hard somewhere, or dried out on a sandbar if I was going to go and do that, because I've only done it not even a handful of times, just once or twice. Just to be on the safe side. I definitely don't want to sink my boat. So I haven't pulled the transmission out, but I have cut the step so that it can be pulled out. So I was getting some information from the boat shop in Coral Sea Marina, and their solution was re-engine and new transmission, and they re-engine the boat. Wow, I thought that's huge. So that's definitely not going to be on the option. And another person I went to, they were just way too busy and didn't even want to touch it. It just seemed like no one wanted to touch anything old. Like my MS2B gearbox, Volvo Penta gearbox, is quite old, and they've got new series that have come out, and you can't buy them new. There's still some parts available, but not widely, and you can buy second-hand ones from overseas, and possibly a few in Australia here and there. So anyway, I've decided to head south because there's a good northerly wind, and I will and the solution will unfold, I hope. But I think what I have to do is find a sandbar to get this transmission out, so I can find out what the actual problem is, and then I can target that. I've been to Melbourne, took my car back down to Melbourne, to Meetung. That took 2.5 days, but I was away for 10. Went to the Alfred for a checkup and a bone marrow biopsy, so they can determine whether I can maybe come off the tablets. I'll find out that in a couple of weeks, so that's pretty exciting. Good morning. Tuesday morning. What's the date? Tuesday morning, the 24th of September. I'm in the BT50, my car, a bit of a different mode of transport, on the way down to Melbourne to take my car back down south. We've moored the boat on a Whitsunday sailing club mooring back in Early Beach, and we're doing a road trip. Got the schnauzels in the front, and cross my fingers that the car's going to make it. It's going well at the moment. We're in Wowen, and get the car down there, do my doctor's appointment, a big doctor's appointment this time, bone marrow biopsy to check out how my cancer's going, and a CT scan, and then I'll assess whether I can maybe get off the trial drugs. Oh, that'd be awesome. So just going to hit the road and keep driving. I'm always, when I get on the road, I slept last night on top of the roof in a swag. I forgot to bring my sleeping bag. I only had a little light blanket, so I was a bit nippy by the end of the night. It was alright at the start, and then it got a bit cool, but yeah, left that behind. So tonight we're going to have to try and either get another blanket, or freeze, because it's getting colder the further south we get. So here we go. Well, back here, I couldn't pass this place up. I used to work here many years ago for a brief time. Strawn Hutchison was there, and I was staying at his place, and I was working at this place here called statewide here, but it's called Air Care Aviation in Moree years ago, and I gained my PT6 engine licence here. Got back on the boat after having it on a mooring at the Whitsunday Sailing Club, and it was pretty good, except for the cormorants love to make a fair old mess of your boat with their poo, and I'll just change course a bit. So a lot of decisions to be made about how I'm going to get home. I've decided to get going. I've got a spare transmission where the drive shaft also looks, it's quite worn. I'll just show you. Let's get a torch. I'm gonna, when I get a chance to, because I have to relieve the pressure on the, I have to move the drive shaft back, which will potentially relieve the pressure on the prop shaft seal. So I want to have it all set up right. So decided to get going because it's a northerly wind, and I will put that transmission in. I bought it for $200. It's probably not going to be alright, but we'll give it a go, and in the meantime try and work out where we can get parts. The input gear shafts, they're just not readily available. They come as a gear set. One bloke quoted me $3,000 for the gear set, and so I just got to work through a few more options, and maybe a few people in Brisbane and that sort of thing. So that's the challenging one. But I'm just going to keep. Trouble with one engine out is it's not, my boat's not manoeuvrable. It's all right when I'm moving like this, I can turn, but as soon as I come to a standstill and I put the starboard engine on, it turns to the left and to the right, backwards. Like I can go backwards and it will turn to the right, but I'm going backwards. So it's not ideal, but I think I'll be able to manage that. Just have to come into bigger open anchorage points, not go into marinas for the start for the while. And you can always get a hand, I suppose, and it's a dinghy to use as a tug. I better get onto the wheel because I've got a bit of a boat in front of me. So yeah, lots of challenging little events coming up, and I'll keep you posted about what I'm going to do about it. Yeah, it'd be quite interesting. I'd be really interested to see whether that drive spline off my spare prop shaft will actually hold up to any pressure. So I assume it's been pulled out for that reason. So I'm just wondering whether I would be able to epoxy it in or something like that. I'll just try and get a bit of advice on that one. And because I could just use it as a backup just for steering when I'm in close waters and stuff like that. So that's what I'll probably do, I think. Anyway, we're on our way, and I hope that I don't have any more troubles with the starboard engine. Otherwise we've got no engines. See you later. It's a beautiful morning here just out the front of Long Island Resort. We've got a few neighbours. Just going to go into shore, have a look at what there is left of the resort, and wait for a bit of wind so we can get down this passage with the tide. I just don't, we're not going to get very far, I don't think. But I gave the boat a bit of a scrape yesterday, the starboard hull. It was just blankets of weed or algae on there. Just keep knocking off the boat jobs and eventually get to the transmission, clean that up, and quietly confident that we might get some sort of use out of it. And contacted a few people from the Gold Coast, Brisbane, about how to fix my gearbox, and also back in Paynesville, my home area, Gray's Automotive, see what he can come up with. That's about it. I found out from Gray's Automotive back in my home port that the gearbox I got off him, the spare one I have on my boat, was pulled out because they wanted to re-engine their boat, not because there was a failure in it or the spline. So that's a good thing. It might actually work for me. The resort is not empty, I don't think. I think there's some caretakers. I can hear a generator running. And of course, you wouldn't want to just leave it because there's a lot of buildings here, a lot of rooms. There's a generator up there. So they've got a caretaker here, probably just looking after. It looks like it's being looked after, partially, you know. A few gutters and stuff like that need a bit of looking at, but no, it looks basically pretty tidy and clean. I read last night on the Google sounded sort of like an Italian name, that they bought it for 20 million bucks and we're gonna remake it into some U-Butte resort, so I'm assuming that's what they're still gonna do. But a good beach for drying out on in a cat. I could do my transmission on that beach, it'd be awesome. Nice and calm, which is what you need when you dry your boat out, otherwise you get that horrible bumping. Wow, the GoPro just stopped. None of the buttons worked. I don't know what's going on. When I started living in Airlie Beach around 2004, Long Island Resort, that you've just seen in the pics here, was up and running and a going concern. It seems to have suffered the same fate as many of the island resorts. What is it today? It's Tuesday morning, just come through Long Island Passage just there. Got up to 7.5 knots going through there because it's the bottlenecks and then current picks up. But now it's still in our favour going south because the tide's flooding in the Whitsundays. That's the way it works. So the aim is to get to Gensetta Bay up there or around Cape Conway to Repulse Islands, and then the other option was to go out to Lindeman and Shore Islands, which is not looking favourable at the moment because they're over there, and then that's Pentecost Island. There's no real mooring and anchoring around Pentecost apparently, but I mean, I could go and check that out myself, but I would love to go over to Pentecost because it's such a unusual looking island, but you can't go everywhere, and I'm going where the wind's gonna take me. I don't want to use engines. I want to save on my engine, so I'm just going to do a bit of upwind ghosting. You can see that's basically all we're doing. We're doing a couple of knots, but I got plenty of time. It's going to go up there, then we're going to zigzag back that way, and then see whether we can get around Cape Conway, and then maybe to the Repulse Islands. But the current will kick in at some time. I'd say it'll just be Gensetta Bay would probably be the best because we're doing 2 knots. It's going to take hours to get anywhere. But that's alright, that's the way it is. I've got plenty of boat jobs. I just thought I'll get going and do a few boat jobs on the way and see how that works. Having a bit of trouble with one of the controllers for the solar panel is not displaying, but it's got a voltage coming out of it the same as the one that is displaying, and it's also producing like 60 volts and putting out 12.1, which seems a bit low, but they're both doing the same. And you think on a day like today where the sun's nice, it would be perfect. So I've got to keep an eye on that, and then also my anchor winch just seems like it's dying. I don't know whether it's the batteries. That's why I charged the batteries. So when I pull up the winch, I put the revs up on the motor to operate to my cruising speed, and it works better, but then it just dies again. It's like it can't handle it. It's maybe needs new brushes or something like that. So I suppose I will make that one of my jobs, and I'll try and investigate further. So there's always something to do on a boat. We'll catch you later. Yeah, we're experiencing a bit of crabbing, I think. That's very light wind. We're doing 2 knots. We should have made contact with land about there and then had to tack. The current's going this way, and I'm just pointed to just 45 degrees to the wind, and I'm just letting it steer into wind, lose power, and then come back and then steer back into wind by itself. And we just seem to be crabbing around this coastline here. And I think the reason is because there's a current coming through, and it's just keeping us. We're going around like this because it looks like we might even get that point up there. And I never thought we would get that. I thought I would have had to tack by now, but it just seems to be keeping on going. It feels a bit strange, but I experienced that also coming back from the outer reef to Hayman Island. You're pointing, looks like you're pointing at the place you don't want to go, but if you go by your GPS, you end up where you want to go, because you're basically crabbing into the current, which offsets the current to get you to where you want to go. So I think that's about as much sense as I can get out of it. So I'll take it. It's normally the other way. The beautiful Lindeman Island. First time. Oh no, I come here once to repair an aeroplane on the airstrip. The airstrip, the old resort. The old resort's over that way. And it's Lindeman Island Resort. It had Club Med, it was called, and French, I think, and they went broke, so it's been lying dormant, I think. It still is. I'm not going to go up onto this one. I went onto the Long Island one, but I won't go onto this one. Just going to have a bit of a walk on the beach, and we'll get going tomorrow again. We ended up having a wind change from the east or southeast to the northeast. I think it might have been a sea breeze build up, so I've got to keep that in mind for tomorrow, because we really didn't make any distance. The wind was very light. Anyway, that's what you get when you're sailing. A rock that's stuck together. It almost looks like concrete. I have to find out what that is. Like as if it's some sort of fluid system, and then it just went hard. Find out. If you know, let us know. These are my friends that were on my boat before. That one that I got off the side of the boat looks very similar to these, but these ones are dry. It's a piece of bamboo that's obviously been floating in the water like that, and they all grew on that side, and then it got washed up on this beach. There you go. Another interesting thing. Yeah, well, this is the goose barnacle I found on Toucan's Hull back down in Yamba, with a little animal inside. If you have a look at the colours and that brown line around it, that looks very similar to what's on that bamboo. So I'm sure they must be the same family at least. The peduncle or the attachment point looks a bit different on the ones on the bamboo, but colours are fairly close. So just past Locksmith Island. We've got the main and the foresail up. The wind's pretty light, but we were getting 5 knots, now we're getting 3. Just had the head sail up before too. Decision to make is, do we go to Brampton Island, which is another 3 hours that way, gets us there about 4 o'clock given the same conditions, or do we just stay behind Goldsmith Island and get an arvo there of sitting and relaxing, I suppose. I'm always the one to go to the next spot, so I think I'm going to do that. And if it doesn't work out, I'll have to put it in the memory bank for next time and maybe pull up a bit earlier. Righto, see ya. Just look up. Wowee. Brampton Island, West Bay. Absolute glorious swimming spot here. The coral and whatnot stops out there a bit, and then you just got this beautiful sandy area for swimming. So what would you do? Go for a swim, I think. So it's going to blow southeasterly tomorrow, starting off pretty calm, and then it'll be built up to 12, 15, 20 knots later in the Arve, and then getting stronger Thursday, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday up to 30 knots, 25 probably. And so I'm going to go over to that way, over there near Seaforth it's called, get behind Outer Newry Island. I've got a bit of boat work to do on my transmission, so I want to do that. So I'll either go over there tomorrow, it's going to start off light, or I'll wait for the 10 to 15 on Friday. So it's a straight sail in the morning, and also then I can go over this way over the hill, sheltered to the old Brampton Island, and see it from a different side for a day. I'll probably do that. Treat myself to a little treat myself. It's not like I've been working, is it? Anyway, you get that. Catch ya. So from the glorious West Bay of Brampton Island, we head to seek shelter behind Outer Newry Island, just out of Seaforth in Queensland, Australia. Finding this magnificent work platform on low tide with close toucan on top of it, so that we could do a transmission removal and discover what the cause of the failed propulsion is. So stay tuned for next week's edition. Full spinnaker ahead to your dreams, and till next time.